Hello guys and welcome to the Content Universe. Today I want to talk about how you can get content material enough. And when I say content material, in particular, I mean master content material. And what is master content, you may think? I will explain that in just a minute. But before that, I want you to know who I am. I am Mikkel Svold, and I'm the owner and founder of the content production agency called Montanus. And we produce content, all kinds of content, including podcasts, video, etc., blog posts, you name it, for high knowledge companies typically. All right, so what I mean by master content is the piece of content that you can use to produce other pieces of content from. So that would be, for me, oftentimes that's going to be a podcast episode, and that podcast episode can then in turn become, blog posts, more than one blog post, or oftentimes. It can become email, it can become social media posts, etc. So how do you get enough of this type of content to feed your, so to say, content machine? That is one of the big questions. That is something that I've actually been really struggling with. And I'm quite sure that I've been struggling so much with it that I've probably already had one episode about this, because I really do think that getting that master content nailed down, getting that done is just super critical, and obviously it's critical if you want to have something to repurpose, but it's also super hard to do simply because it takes time. It's a logistic nightmare. It's planning. It's a lot of all of those things. Okay, so today I want to go through just 3 simple steps that I've implemented in Montanus to kind of help us ease the way of recording a podcast episode, recording a video interview, recording something that will then in turn become the master content that we will use either for ourselves or on behalf of our clients, that we will use to produce the rest of the thought leadership content that we create. All right, so first of all, I want to tell you how I did it a year ago. Or actually, it's less than a year ago, probably half a year ago. So half a year ago, I would have a long list, and that's something that we do on a strategic workshop. So I would have a long list of content ideas and ideas to interviews that we want to write about, or we want to interview about. We want to create content about this topic. Now, with that list, I will also have a list with, or a column where it says all the people that we need to contact in order for this to happen. So who is going to be the interviewees to give us the input that we need in order to create this content. That is all good, and that is probably as it should be. I'm not sure you can actually do it in any other way. Well, hit me up if you can, if you know some brilliant way, but that's how we do it anyway. But it still leaves behind the problem. You have to arrange all of that, and you have to reach out to all of these people. Sometimes you even have to find the people, right? Sometimes you don't know the person, you just know the topic. But knowing the person that you want to interview, that's not always obvious. Who's that going to be? So you have to do a lot of footwork to, first of all, find the right person you want to interview, and then afterwards finding those contact information, and then again afterwards trying to nail down a time of interview. And those are really hard. And it turned out that there were so many times, especially for my own podcast, Big Ideas Only, where we simply didn't get the job done. And it just stranded in the planning phase. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. Things strand in the planning phase. And I bet, look inwards, look at yourselves. Can you recognize this pattern? If you can recognize this pattern, well, give this episode a like or a thumbs up somewhere, because I really love to hear from you guys. Also, just to not feel alone on my stranded at planning stage little island here. All right. So what we did was I did 3 things, and the first of them is the one that has really taken the biggest, or had helped us leap the most. And it's something that's been frightening me quite a lot. That's why I've hesitated to do so. I've hired a producer, or I've hired an organizer or an editorial assistant. These kinds of people have many different titles. But in essence, what they do is they help out with planning. They help out reaching out to interviewees on behalf of me, who would often be the interviewer or the host of the interview. So they reach out and do all that groundwork, logistics, planning, all that. They also find the right person to talk to in this interview. And when I say they, for me, the they is a lovely woman called Olivia, and she's just helping me so tremendously much with reaching out to people. And the reason why today is the day that I want to talk to you about this is I just received a Slack notification 2 days ago, on Friday I think it was, where she said, okay, I've now reached out to 5 of these people and 4 of them has come back. I just have a single question. What should I answer to this email? Do we do this or don't we do this? Blah, 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 whatever it was. And I was just like, I was blown away, completely blown away. I was like, I've spent probably 6 months procrastinating reaching out to, 20 people, but simply because I didn't know who I wanted to reach out to. Just, the paradox of plenty, I know there's a book called. So the paradox of plenty opportunities. So I could have reached out to the 15 other people, but I had such a hard time choosing that I procrastinated finding out who is the person going to be, what topic should we go with in this episode, and blah, blah, blah. And now Olivia, she just reached out to them. She just took them from the top and said, okay, we'll just reach out to the 5 people. And she did. And now we have bookings in the book with those people. And I just find that such a brilliant tip. And I know it's kind of obvious, but hiring an organizer, hiring an editorial assistant, or someone who can do the planning, a secretary, whatever you call it, but someone who can do the initial planning of each episode, of each interview, that is just critical to us. And then when you've done that, when you've implemented that, you can make his or her life easier by, of course, giving access to your calendar so she can book directly into your calendar. Or, like we do, we use a calendar booking app. There are plenty of them out there, Calendly, cal.com. I think even Microsoft has an inbuilt booking system. So you can use all kinds of booking apps that your editorial assistant can then kind of use in the planning. So booking an interview will be super easy and it won't obstruct anything in your own calendar. So that is like tip number 2. Tip number 1, definitely hire an assistant. And tip number 2, use a calendar booking app. And then, of course, the last one, this is the lowest hanging fruit, so that you can go implement right away. Templatize your emails. When you reach out to prospective interviewees or to prospective guests to your podcast, have a 2-step email series coming out to them. The first one being very short, super brief, just saying, hello, I am this, I'm the producer of this and that podcast. We would love to have an interview on this and that topic, and we thought that might be you. Would you be interested? Click here to hear 4 more episodes, right? So that simple email, just saying, do you want to participate or not? Because then they can easily just say no thanks, and you're not taking up too much time. In the second follow-up email, if they says, yeah, I'm interested, let me know anything more, we'll have another email templatized to follow up with all the practicalities in it. So how long is the interview going to be? What's the platform? Is it online? Is it in real, in person? Is it a Teams meeting? Is it a Riverside? Blah, blah, blah. All of this. So have that in a second follow-up email, and then also have the Calendly link or the calendar booking app link, whatever software you use, have that also in that email so the guests themselves can go book their interview time. And then, of course, make sure that that link has been set up so they can only book times that fit your schedule. And then what we're doing now, because we're very, very strict on which days you can book, we can only book Monday or Wednesday. and we can only book one each day. So that means that sometimes the guests, they're not able to book the interview until in 3 weeks or in 4 weeks time. But that's not a problem, because you want to have an ongoing podcast. So it doesn't really matter whether that guest gets on episode number 40 or episode number 55. It's not important. The important thing is that they participate, so we can get that knowledge into our knowledge bank, into our content universe. All right, that is it for today's content universe. I hope you enjoyed, and just biggest recommendation of them all: get an assistant to reach out to handle booking in your calendar. I'm blown away. It's just so amazing, and it just really seems to really work for me, and I'm sure it will for you as well. Thank you so much for listening, and if you enjoyed and want to follow up on future episodes, please do click the subscribe button in your podcast player. You know where it is. It says subscribe. Also, of course, give us a review. It would be lovely to hear from you. If you think it's crap, if you think it's something you can use, give us a review anyway, and we can kind of amend or change and adjust the podcast that we have right here to fit the purpose that you find the best. That's it for now. Thank you so much for listening, and see you on another Content Universe planet.